I'm currently teaching on a McKay Live workshop here in Italy, and right now we're hiking between two towns in the Cinque Terre region. It's gorgeous, but a little hilly. We just climbed almost 600 feet in less than a half a mile. Yeah, it's some serious climbing. It's a great time to travel as light as possible, and Tamron's got a new lens that really aims to help you do that. It's an 18-300 for crop sensor bodies, both Sony and Fuji. I've been shooting with it for the last couple of weeks here in Italy. I'm about to fly home. I'm going to take a look at all of these shots and share some opinions with you. This is the Tamron 18-300. It's for Sony and Fuji aps-c cameras. Before we dive in, I want to let you know that this video is sponsored by Squarespace. I run my own site on Squarespace. It's just so ridiculously easy to set up a beautiful website and to add content. You can try them out for free, no credit card required for 14 days, and you save 10% by starting at squarespace.com/photorectv. So a fairly compact and lightweight lens that offers a range that covers 97% of most of our needs, costs just $6.99? What's the catch? Well, first a little history about my channel. I started it about a decade ago with the goal of helping people figure out what photo gear was best for them. And over the course of that decade, I have had thousands of conversations online and in person with photographers of all levels as they've asked for advice on what should be their next lens purchase. And these all-in-one lenses have always been a popular question. And generally, I've steered photographers away from them. They seem great, right? Less lens changing, less weight in your bag than, say, 3 or 4 lenses that cover this range. But generally, when you cram so much focal range into one lens, this lens is almost a 17 times zoom. Well, you usually do make some sacrifices. But I need to ditch that old paradigm. The Tamron 28-200 that I reviewed last summer for full frame, and now this Tamron 18-300 for crop is really quite impressive. Let's start by talking about the build quality. It feels solid in the hand, very well built. It zooms smoothly with a double telescoping design, which could pump some dust in there. You've got a lens lock switch to stop lens creep, and I did experience a little bit of that. Note, it will only lock at 18 millimeters. And I'm going to point out to you that that is the only physical switch on this lens body. You have no AF/MF switch, and you have no IS or VC on or off switches. And I do miss those physical switches, but it's not a huge deal. You just have to dive into the menu to switch them off. The vibration compensation, by the way, is absolutely silent. I only hear anything when I press my ear to the lens, and Tamron lists it as a newer system. I just did some quick handheld shots and was impressed with the capabilities at these slower shutter speeds. The lens takes 67 millimeter filter threads, which is great. That's a common size among many Tamron lenses, and it just makes it that much simpler to use and have in your bag one set of filters. For all of these lenses, no need to deal with step-up rings, which if you haven't watched my recent video on that, you might want to. The lens weighs 620 grams, and Tamron states that it is weather sealed. Focus speed, very good, and focus reliability is good. I say just good because I did see a few instances in lower contrast or backlit situations where the camera did struggle a bit. Now, going back to past Tamron lenses, many have almost always had some AF issues at release that have been fixed with firmware updates. As a longtime owner of the 28-75 and the 17-28, those are lenses I own and bought at release, they both had some AF consistencies at launch that were solved shortly after, and I suspect this lens long-term will be just fine. Image quality, it's excellent. I mean, I was quite surprised how excellent it was. Over the course of the couple of weeks on this Italy workshop, I used this lens on a Sony a6600 and on a Sony a1, including in that pixel shift mode, which generates huge resolution photos. I see zero issues here. I mean, there is some distortion, but that's easily fixable in post-processing. There's a small amount of vignetting, also fixable, and both of those aren't more than I would suspect or expect to see in a lens that has a much more reasonable focal range. I pixel peep these photos. I really don't see any issues. I see great sharpness, great contrast, no issues out in the corners. I mean, they do get a little softer, but nothing dramatic. This is a great lens. If I owned a crop sensor camera, I would be happy to use this lens. But before we get to the but, a quick reminder that this video is brought to you by Squarespace. You can try Squarespace out for free for 14 days. No credit card required, no strings attached. They offer gorgeous starting templates and easy drag and drop interfacing to build a new site in just minutes. Seriously, it's so easy. But if you do get stuck or need assistance, they provide customer support, real, knowledgeable humans that are there to help you. And it's so easy to add a domain too. It really is the best way to showcase your work on your own space. Start at squarespace.com/photorectv and you can save 10% off your purchase. So yes, I would be happy to own this lens, but I would probably need a lens or two in my bag along with it. A wide-angle prime for stars and a nice portrait lens with a fast aperture, because the only real drawback I can come up with for this lens is that its focal range, aperture range is a little on the slow side. Let's take a look. So from 18 to 21 millimeters, 4 millimeters at the beginning there, you have that max aperture of 3.5. From 22 to 38 millimeters, you're at f4, 39 to 62 millimeters, f4.5, 63 to 88 millimeters, f5, 89 to 158, f5.6, and finally 159 to 300 gives you that f6.3. So creating soft background behind your subjects becomes a little more difficult, but pick up this lens along with a small, fast, wide-angle prime if you like photographing stars, or portrait-friendly focal length for people, and you've got a very complete 2 to 3 lens kit. Now, talking about aperture a little bit more, I was pleasantly surprised with the clean sun stars that you can create with this lens. I do see some flaring, but nothing dramatic, nothing that gives me pause in recommending this lens. And I cannot believe how well this lens works as a macro. You can get insanely close, and the resulting photos are excellent. It is quite rare to find a do-it-all lens that actually does macro too. Now online, I've seen some reports that the minimum focus distance is 5.9 inches. I'm finding the distance to be far less, and Tamron's own website lists it as 0.2 inches. Yeah, seriously, they even have a warning to avoid touching your subject with the end of this lens. That sounds great. Let's do a quick reality check though. You are going to have your best results if you switch to manual focus at those distances. And if you think you're going to get amazing bug or butterfly shots, well, at these close distances, you're going to scare your subject away. But for brave Lego dudes and immovable inanimate objects, this is some freaking excellent macro capabilities. We can start to wrap this up. I mean, one question I know many of you have, well, how does this lens compare to X lens? That X lens will often be a dedicated zoom, maybe the range of 70 to 300-ish. And I am talking to both Sony and Fuji photographers out there. The answer is, dedicated telephoto lenses are likely going to be a little sharper and often offer wider apertures across the range. But in the real world, these sharpness differences, they're going to be pretty insignificant based on the sharpness I saw out of this lens. So if you're looking for one lens to do it all, I'm very happy to recommend this Tamron, and at $699 can say it represents a great value. If you found this video useful, you can hit that thumbs up button and subscribe, plus click the little bell so you'll be notified of future videos. And if you plan to buy, I've got links to this lens and the primes you should consider carrying to make what I think is a complete kit. They'll take care of you in just about all situations. And if you want to have a conversation about what lens or gear is right for you, you just drop that right in the comments. And you can join us on a future trip. We're headed back to Italy in 2023. I'll put a link for more information about that right down below this video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.